Hello and welcome to another live Q&A. We are live on LinkedIn. We're live on YouTube. We're live in the Facebook group as well. I've got Ken Magma Marshall with me. How are you, Ken?
Donnie, thank you so much for having me. I've got my coffee and I'm ready to go. So doing great.
You're over in the States. Whereabouts are you?
So we just moved to San Luis Obispo, which is Southern California on the coast 2 days ago. So just having a great time.
Which means it's only 7 a.m. for Ken right now. So thanks for getting out of bed and for being here. Is this a normal time of day for you, or have we got you out of bed early?
No, I mean, usually up between like 5:30 and 6 anyway, but it's usually Ken time, morning routine time, puppy time. So this is a treat for everybody listening.
You're the Chief Growth Officer and Managing Partner at RevenueZen. And we're going to be talking about how to scale your B2B SaaS organization and really drilling into organic. We're going to be talking lots about search engine optimization. We're going to be talking about content. We're going to be talking about LinkedIn and basically getting a return on inbound marketing. That's what it's about. Yeah, Ken?
I would say that is a concise way to say what I've obsessed about for the last 7 years of my life. So absolutely.
Wow. And has that come from a frustration of lots of organizations spending lots of money on inbound but not getting a conversion?
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we'll maybe dive into some of this, but I originally was in sales and business development, and I just thought that wasn't, a creative enough pursuit. I didn't get to tinker as much as my brain likes to. And I started out getting into SEO because it was equal parts science and art. Over time, yeah, it's evolved into why are 90% of these companies I'm seeing, these shops, doing SEO for clicks and keyword rankings when businesses need money, revenue, return on investment, profit, right? So that's why I've tried to just shift that focus and really hard press on that over time. So
Just to remind people that are watching, if you've got questions, please do ask in the comments. With absolute pleasure, we'll keep an eye on the comments. And as I said, this is live streamed on YouTube, on LinkedIn, and on Facebook. And it's brilliant that you're here. And if you're listening on the podcast, if you're listening to a recording that will have gone live just a few days after this live session online. So thanks for being here. Ken, let's just go. So you said 7 years ago, what got you into it?
just serendipity, maybe. But yes, I was at university and I was in sales and marketing or the business development and sales. They called it a marketing program. It wasn't. And I always thought that's what I wanted to do. I'm pretty personable. I like people. I don't mind, talking and selling. And what I realized after like essentially winning a sales competition was that a lot of sales as being a zombie, chasing after money, but with very little fulfillment, at least in the jobs that I saw and applied for. And so I went to talk to this career counselor who's like, "You're young. There's this thing called digital technology and communications, which back then nobody in my town I had never heard of." And we go through this course called information architecture, and I learned that Google has an algorithm and people manipulate it for their advantage. Sold, hooked, sign me up. I haven't looked back since. I immediately like switched directions, switched majors, and that was really it. Is just that intrigue of, I have that part in me that wants to, like an engineer's brain, you can say, but I love the human aspect and psychology aspect of marketing too. So yeah, I was hooked. Still am.
And you're typically nowadays working with whether it be VPs or directors of sort of big B2B SaaS businesses that are really looking to grow. What's the key focus? This is around inbound and organic. Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, Seth Godin said it best, attraction-based marketing, permission-based marketing, but people who want to do business with you and you help them make a good decision. And at the end of the day, if you're the right vendor and you've helped them, they'll do business with you. So
I'm gonna dive into something because I've got a number of B2B SaaS clients, and whilst we're going to be talking about SEO today and organic, I'm curious, and I don't know if you've had this experience with any of your clients at all, but what happens when you've got a SaaS organization that is selling something that no one is aware of that's even available? So no one's Googling it because they don't even know it's there. And I know I'm sort of throwing this at you, but do you have any experience with that?
This is actually a common, not only objection, but pain point within their organizational planning. So we get that question very often. And I sort of think of two things immediately. One is with these types of companies, they often are proud of their baby. And so the engineers think that they have all these features mapped out. They have all this functionality understood to the nth degree. What they haven't done is the next two steps, aligning it with their target, even figuring out who the heck their target customer is, aligning it with their pain, and then mapping the pain features of the product to a solution. And solutions have nothing to do with their product that they invented. Those pains existed before they got there, and those pains will exist when, if they IPO or what, regardless. And I'll give you an example. One of our clients provides a financial product that essentially allows sales teams to close deals better. Now, the volumes around sales rep software solutions close deals faster has been around and will always be around. That mapping is where strategy comes into focus. So that's the first thing. Understand how your product and features, which are new, brand new, if you're inventing something, map to the existing pains and needed desired solutions. The second thing is what can we attach ourselves to that exists in the market already? So let's say that people are looking for sales software and they didn't want to call themselves a sales software. It might make sense to map the homepage to a sales platform for now, gather some data through Search Console. First party data is awesome, especially because we're going to be in a cookieless future, I think, and then start to
But
use that intelligence and iterate rapidly over time, if that makes
yeah,
with your newfound data and conversion. So does that
yeah,
make sense?
yeah, no, and in fact, you were just talking about a cookieless future. Firefox's latest update, I don't know if you noticed it, but literally in the last couple of days, is now the big call to action when you open Firefox after the latest update is try our cookie-free experience. And
Ooh, I didn't know
yeah,
that.
so now I know obviously Firefox isn't the main browser out there, but that it's just an example of you're absolutely bang on in terms of where cookies are going. I completely agree. So I've totally lost my train of thought there because I was thinking of cookies and Firefox for a moment. But you were saying I wanted to tap in because you said, oh yeah, and I know what you said because you said latch onto the homepage. You'd latch it onto the selling software selling whatever it was. Oh, Ken, sorry.
Sales
Um,
software. Yeah, no
yeah,
worries.
thank you. But I wanted to understand what you meant by latch it. Well, how are you gonna what did you mean by that?
Yeah, so let's say that, we go and do some for that company that, company's example, we go and see that they're inventing a category, it's very niche. I would actually zoom out, target something like sales software that's intentionally broad, but with the messaging on the page being laser targeted to what their product does. So our optimization is around this more broad sales software, but we mentioned specifics to what their tool does and their target audience. And then through Search Console, Google Analytics, we have conversion tracking, we have their CRM talking. If we see some conversions come through from these types of keywords, now all of a sudden we've got this data that says, hey, you want to talk about your product this way, but actually your buyers are speaking this way. And you mentioned that they were a good fit because hopefully you have your CRM set up and we can see if they became a customer. Then we can begin that dance of, well, I want to talk about it this way, but this is what's converting. Okay, cool. What if we meet in the middle? And so with B2B companies that are truly, truly inventing something, it is a dance for like the first 6 to 8 months, truly. It's not snap your fingers. And so I have to prime our prospects like, hey, this is not set it and forget it, pay it and not. You don't have established fit in the market yet. And so we need to do that dance together until which is going to just require some educated guesses at the beginning and iteration. So
So it's interesting that that one of the first things I've asked you is a common pain point. What other common pain points would you say B2B SaaS orgs have?
let's see.
Where do you start?
It's not a yeah, I was gonna say one is it's not it's not cost effective. It's not a reliable growth channel, which I don't disagree with, but my caution to those people is the best time to do SEO is always yesterday.
Hmm, hmm,
So if at
hmm.
any point in the next 5 years you're planning on doing it, I don't care if you hire us or hire somebody else or do it yourself, they're wrong in the sense that they shouldn't invest today if they're planning on it because, as you know, you can't game truly domain rating and trustworthiness. You can game domain authority score by building PBN links, but you're going to tank after. But true, like establish domain trustworthiness takes time. There's things you can do to improve it, but truly it takes time. And so that's a common pain. Um, one to being at a one-time thing. Why does this need to be iterative over time? It's like, well, let me show you a chart of somebody who disengaged, and you can see the line and leads coming in, and then all of a sudden the dip from organic. I'm agnostic about channels, by the way. We all are in our organ. I don't care if it's paid or hiring SDRs. We just want our clients to work. We just chose organic because we think it's more of the future. So yeah,
And your product that you've created has a heavy focus on LinkedIn as well. And I mean, I think still so many organizations don't realize the power of LinkedIn. And
sure.
even at just a basic level. But what you're doing is you're sort of taking it up a much greater level, integrating it with Salesforce, and really trying to understand the full attribution model of where that client might have come from, and making sure that you engage with them the entire time. What I want you to do is just help people listening or watching right now just understand what they're missing out on LinkedIn, and some of the key things that they should be considering that you've sort of already considered for them, and come up with a solution.
Yeah, so I'm getting into this more recently. I mean, shout out to Alex Boyd, our CEO. You can go find him on LinkedIn. He's the one who sort of really honed and perfected the system over the last 5 years. And truly, like a third of our revenue comes directly from his profile. I will start there with what I'm about to say. That is fully attributed, third of our revenue, about, right? It fluctuates up and down. But so anyway, the big things, the key takeaways that people can know is like, first of all, it should be somebody who's a subject matter expert and probably like C-level executive of the company. Founders and CEOs make the most money on LinkedIn. I will start there. And it's because not only are they the most passionate typically, they birthed the product often. They're the ones who are the most charismatic and passionate. They're out there closing rounds, writing books, right? They're intriguing. So the first thing is that it needs to be somebody high up in the organization that's compelling because it's going to be a reflection of the brand to your buyer. And so if your SDR who wouldn't get a meeting with the CEO on the phone in the old school way of doing things wouldn't happen, then they're going to not get past the gatekeeper. Picture the same kind of scenario on LinkedIn. So if you see Alex posting, you trust the company instinctively, or the CEO. So that's the first thing. Company pages, they can be sort of they can accompany the strategy, but they should never be the focus. And I think people already start off wrong because they just repost a blog post to the company profile and think they're going to get leads. So that's step
Who,
one. Go ahead.
who wants to be friends with a company page?
Zero people. You see brands like Coke having a sponsored human that people can put a face to. It's even happening in B2C. So that's step one, C-level exec. Step two is the type of content. We are not interested in being influencers. I mean, Alex sort of is, and I sort of am becoming, but like the point is to drive business. So whereas you might see an occasional picture of me and my puppy running, the number one thing you're going to see from me is tactics and strategies about how to drive growth through SEO content and LinkedIn. That's what I do. And so that's what I want people to know. I want them to trust and care about us so that they'll trust and care about RevenueZen. So that's thing two. They should be case studies, thought leadership, interesting things that the company has done or that the CEO has done, raised around a funding, book, won an award. Um, and then just general sort of knowledge that similar to a blog post that would help somebody make an informed decision about your product or service. Um, so I think that those three things actually are good places to start. And the fourth would just be activity. And I don't even care about what kind of activity because people that I talk to think it's too hard. They're like, I don't want to post every day. Fine, we post once a week and it works for us. So do something on a regular cadence, even if it's just once a week, and see what happens in a year would be my fourth piece of simple advice. So let's start there.
You said that you're not an influencer. However, your middle name on LinkedIn is Magmo. What's behind that?
Yeah, I'm an influencer. But yeah, so me and Alex, the CEO, were back when I lived in Portland, Oregon. We were out to brunch, as you do on the weekends, with my wife, and we were getting a little overly philosophical. And I told Alex, I was like, "Hey, what do you consider yourself as far as like a celestial body?" Which was such a ridiculous question, but we went through that, and I'm like, okay, what about me? He's like, I'm gonna bring it down to earth for you, Ken. And he's like, you are this expansive, high energy force. He's like, but if it's not put in the right direction, it can be a bit destructive because I'm a pretty rowdy dude. And he's like, so you're basically like a volcano, like the magma from a volcano. And he's like, Kim, and he looks at my wife. He's like, you are a cooling force that helps us enjoy Ken's beauty without harming. And she is. She's very grounding for me, and so it's really dope. So anyway, I put it on there immediately. I thought it was cool. Yeah.
I like it. I like it. Okay, so I'd want to tap into SEO. I mean, SEO is my roots. That's where I came from in terms of when I got into marketing. So it's my strong point. It turns out that SEO is a big thing for you as well. It's been a focus for the last 7 years. So I was very interested in how you talked about, if people aren't aware of what you sell and they're not Googling it, then to try and find sort of an intent keyword that you can focus on. Talk to me. I want to hear more about intent, because Google's clearly going in that direction in terms of how it ranks different websites for different keywords. So how do you focus on keyword intent? What are some of the practical things that you need to be considering? And you also have this thing that you talk about in terms of right to own. And I assume that's, have I, as an organization, got the ability to be able to rank for this? So tell me more about all of this.
Yeah, so I'll start with like the foundations of when somebody out there, if you aren't familiar with intent, you're going to hear two major different things, but that they mean the same thing. And I'll use the simpler one after this, but you're going to see the four buckets of informational, commercial, transactional, and navigational. What that means is, and Google wrote a paper on this that simplifies it. People either want to know something or learn something, or they want to go somewhere to like Facebook's login page, or they want to do something like make a purchase. And so the reason why intent is so important is because if it's mismatched, you're going to create a content asset and target a keyword that's not going to have the intended effect. And I'll give an example that I see all the time. Somebody might look at and say, um, best, so for us, best marketing agency in the United States. Like I'm gonna go after that keyword. No, you're not. Clutch owns that keyword. Clutch is an aggregate for B2B companies to help you compare providers. When people are searching for the word best, 9.9 times out of 10, they want to compare something. Their credit cards might be slightly out of their pocket, but they're not ready to hit buy yet, right? And so I'll see companies create these long landing pages or their homepage around like best, marketing agency in the US. And it's like, no, it's not. You've mismatched the intention of the user. Now what they want to see is, okay, how does your company stack up against this company's month to month pricing? And do you include an audit? Because they include an audit. Then you give them the solutions landing page. Then you direct them to your form or your phone, right? When they're ready to buy. So that's why intent is so powerful. If it's mismatched, you're going to create content, do all this effort that isn't going to convert, or it's not going to meet the user where they're at. So I'll start there because that's pretty foundational. The second part of that is, and I'll get into the right to own in a second, but once you understand the correct intent, like, does this user want to learn something? Do they want to compare options? Do they want to buy? That goes into the buyer's journey, or as I like to say, the customer's decision-making process to do business with you. At the top of it, with that search intent is like, it might be a blog post or an article that they need to read. Super simple. What the heck even is a B2B content strategy? Like maybe they're a new head of marketing at a startup. They don't even know what that entails, or like maybe they've never heard of demand generation. They're so focused on paid ads or something. Um, and so you can then begin to sort of say, do they need to read something informational like a blog post? Do they need to trust us more? Do they need to use a free tool that we can build for them, or maybe a white paper? Maybe a local, that's the trust phase. Are they looking for a case study because they've already read about our solution, they know about us, but they don't trust us yet? So maybe a case study or a report. And then we get to like information about our services, solutions, products, and then it's conversion. So that's the buyer's decision making, which isn't linear. There's like 18 average steps in B2B. I think the last report that I read on Gartner, but you know what I mean? Like that's the the overarching stages that somebody's going to take. And so you have to match the keyword to that those steps of the process. And a simple way to do it is just take whatever keyword you want to target, type it in, see what types of content pop up, because Google's PhD engineers are really good at using user data to figure out what the intent of the user is and return the best content. So that's a quick little hack to determine intent. There's more sophisticated ways, but I like to give simple things. So
And and talk to me about the right to own it as well, though.
yeah, I wanted to give a pause just in case. I know I speak really quickly, and so I wanted to make sure that, yeah, in case.
No, it's fine. And okay. So based on that, then let's just go a bit deeper. So take. I get what you're saying in terms of best marketing agency. I probably would want to compare, but let's say I'm looking for best property lawyer. Okay. I'm going to make some assumptions that there aren't as many comparison sites because I'm probably not looking for. Let's assume that in that area there's not as many comparison sites. What might be a word that would consider that would bring it a bit more transactional and a bit more commercial?
So it's interesting. You're still going to want to optimize for something like property lawyer, or what kind of property you do, or even if you're a local geography based business, maybe a sort of modifier based on your local geography. But interestingly enough, that's why intent is, again, even more important, because if you have all those three, like what type of property lawyer, is it local or national, the SERPs are going to tell you. Like, best property lawyer might not return those aggregates, like you said, or a company, it might return local results first, especially if you're on mobile. So it would make, so again, if you're trying to optimize the homepage for best property lawyer and you don't have a Google My Business, you completely missed the mark. And that's why we don't even start to think about optimization. So I would say the property lawyer, the best property lawyer, like title tag or H1 or wherever you're going to optimize these different on-page things, might be a good idea. But for the best property lawyer, the keyword that's most likely going to bring traffic, from my experience, is the property lawyer and maybe the modifier. The best is more of like click-through rate optimization, or helping the user understand at a glance in the SERPs why they should choose you, more so than you're going to rank for those that are typically comparison keywords if you analyze like large sets of data. So
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. That makes sense. But yeah, so I do want to go to this right to own, because
let's do it.
how does an
Yeah.
organization work out whether they have what you're terming the right to own a keyword?
Yeah. So it's largely been my brain and lots of coaching sessions with the strategists and building systems around how to analyze different data points. We are starting to take some of those data points and, writing this formula in Google Sheets using a tool that I built, of how to identify like a keyword's prioritization score. But I'll talk through like what factors they can use to determine the right to own. So when I say right to own, I mean a keyword may have good volume. You may be even ranking for it. Your competitors may or may not be ranking for it. But what are all of the factors that you need in order to make the determination of one very important thing is, should I even begin down the path of optimizing this? And if I do optimize it, how long or how quickly am I going to see a return on this effort and spend? Those are the two most crucial things that I care about. And so here's what I use if you want to do this sort of manually to determine them. One, are you within, A, are you ranking, but not just ranking? Because if you're on page 8 and all of your competitors on page 1 are like, they have domain rating of like 90 for the first 3 pages, maybe it's too broad. How broad is the keyword? How long has your company been around, right? So, and these are things you can do a quick competitive gap analysis. You can just look at the SERPs, find, toolbar, Moz, Ahrefs, they all have them. Third is the business prioritization, which just an arbitrary score, 1 through 10, just go through and say, look at the search results, or just, you could even just look at the keyword, but I always recommend look at the search results to see what kinds of things are popping up. Are they companies like you? And say, oh, their software or their product or their service is exactly what we do. So that's a business prioritization score of 8, because it's a service page, and that's where people convert often. So that's prioritization of 8. Or, this is some weird blog post about some topic. So I thought this was a good keyword, but it's actually a 1 out of 10. It's not very good. So business prioritization. Um, do we already have a URL ranking for this? So not just the homepage broadly. Is a specific piece of content we made ranking for this, or is Google just saying you're kind of relevant? We'll throw this one. We'll give you a freebie. Crucial. It's a crucial because it's time to value. You're saying if you already have a URL that's been indexed for 2 years and you optimize it, you're going to see performance a lot more quickly than a brand new piece of content on a brand new site that's going to take 2 weeks to get indexed, 2 weeks to get understood, and then 3 months to start performing well, right? So existing URL or not, existing piece of content or not, optimized or unoptimized, moving something from the second page that's never been optimized to like the first position if it's in the third and you're competing with the New York Times and Business Insider, whole different conversation. I mean, astronomical difference in terms of effort and dollars usually, right? So existing position, and then it going from position 20 to 8 is way easier in my opinion on average than going from 3 to 1 for competitive markets, which we work a lot in. And so now I'm trying to track everything that I just said, but oh yeah, average volume. So we sort of this idea of total addressable search market. In B2B, we're working with small volumes, but if we're consistently getting zeros for topics, it may not be worth the client's investment with us if they need a lot of volume because their close rates aren't very high. Which brings me to my next point. Uh, Business metrics. What's their close rate from a lead to from a user to a lead, and then from a lead to a sale, and then what is that sale worth their business? And we'll look at that. Like if this keyword is going to mean less to this part of their business, and this one's going to mean more money for them later, we have to prove our worth. Again, SEO agencies, for all of you listening, nobody cares about clicks and keyword rankings. Those are KPIs. Those aren't business metrics. We need to go after the profitable stuff. So we ask them, what are your most profitable services? How long do they take to close? That goes into the prioritization as well. So um, is this something that's going to be around as far as the service or product arm? Are you going to launch something new? I mean, I'm trying to think like all of them, but there's so many things to be considered. So I'll stop there, but
So,
go ahead.
so what you're doing is you're scoring these things to then give an output of whether it's worth chasing, and the sort of how much we're going to have to put behind this. It makes a lot of sense. I like
Yeah,
it.
and the scoring that's done automatically takes things that everyone's familiar with. A lot of that stuff I was describing is the strategist's bread and butter, but the stuff you can automate is like the difficulty score times the volume divided by plus or minus 10 if you have a URL ranking for it or a competitor's rank, right? And you can easily push the ones that are with confidence up to the top, and then you can go do the business priority, is this going to be profitable, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah.
And one of the we were just talking in the green room around backlinks, because I'm forever asked around backlinks. Are they important? Where do they play a part? And I guess the question to you: do backlinks still make a difference?
So objectively, yes. However, I think people are talking about 1994 version where you can spin up a couple of private blog networks and reach out to your buddy and spam a bunch of,
They they
keyword focused anchor
they,
text.
they
That's
were the
gone. Stop
they were the they were the
it.
best though. They were brilliant.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure that was a fun time. I wasn't. I started out with, rank brain that when I'm doing this. So I mean, I'm sure those were fun times. It's just it's no longer effective. And I'll put this out there: doing it wrong. If you're a business, an actual business, not just a quick and flip site. If you're a quick and flip site, yeah, definitely go do that. But if you're a real business who wants to be around in 10 years, you're going to see your site shoot up, and then you're going to either get penalized manually, or you're just going to see your traffic slowly start to decline. You're not going to know why because you're optimizing. I've seen it. I've undone those efforts. So just be smart. Go build relationships. It's very simple. So
But in short, you're saying the right type of backlink can make a big, a substantial difference.
I think some companies purely could just build links in an intelligent way, and yeah, see pretty astronomical results if they're intelligent about it, with enough time. So
Yeah. And I think that's the key thing to get across, that backlinks are, here right now, we both believe that backlinks are really important as long as they're done correctly. And as long as they're relevant and everything else. So you obviously come across lots of businesses that aren't getting a return on inbound. Uh, Do How do you, you know, is it really common that they've just had sort of years of throwing money at this and not got somewhere, or are you typically working more with startups, perhaps though, that have only been around for the last sort of year or two, and maybe they've just maybe the individuals have had bad experiences in previous companies? In fact, that's the question actually. Are you typically working with more startups or young businesses, or established and been around quite a while?
yeah, so we used to, even 2 years ago, primarily were like startups, like seed, or pre-seed stage often. Definitely not usually above Series A, but as we're moving on, I've noticed that more mid-markets out, so they might still consider themselves a startup internally, but really their unit economics are solid. They're even if they're not profitable, they're revenue generating, they've got a good team, their product market fit is there. So we're going up market in terms of that. But I'll sort of take a step back to, we do notice that people who we're working with now have had some they've been on a few dates with SEO, whether it's an individual contributor or an agency. I just think that and I even wrote a post about this on our site of like how to vet a vendor. And it's literally my process. I literally took my scoring rubric, I took all the questions I asked, and I put it on there because I'm like, ask me this, ask them this. And so I think people have gotten burned, and I've looked at some of the data that we've gotten from clients, and not that we haven't had bad client experiences. We're not perfect. Of course we have. We've probably not, been perfect either. But I will say that the majority of people that have been burned they've had a misunderstanding of what expectations they need to set to select the correct vendor for them. Some of them should have never even done SEO. And if they went through our sales process, I would have been like, you need to hire SDRs because you need leads yesterday. And SEO is not going to work for you. You've never done it before until X, Y, and Z months. And so I think that's the biggest mismatch is, what are you trying to achieve in what time frame and with what budget? Then, if we determine SEO is a good fit and you actually understand the channel and want to pursue it in time, let's talk about scope. But that's 3 steps down the line. And I think they were just like, SEO, we're going to do it. Here's money. And some guys like, I'll give you an audit. And they're like, what do I do with this? That's the majority of what I'm seeing these days.
Yeah, and it's great to hear that you're handling the market in the way you are, because it's so much better than just rushing in and saying, right, we need to do SEO.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're quick
yeah,
to disqualify around it. Like, how you would disqualify a vendor. I've
yeah,
said so many times, this isn't right, or I don't think we can help you, or you shouldn't even be doing SEO. Like, go do LinkedIn paid ads. You have a huge budget, you have a great team, demand generation team, you have nobody on the organic team.
yeah.
Just do this for a while. And when you're established, come talk to me again in a year. So, yeah,
I think most businesses don't say no enough.
word.
I think
Yeah.
I think it's really important. Lastly, I just wanted to finish on your product called Aware. Now, this isn't to try and sell your product necessarily, although we will make it very clear how you can contact venues and RevenueZen afterwards, of course. But I just want, but the product Aware, the social selling product Aware, what are the fundamentals of it? Because my reason for the question is, I believe the fundamentals of it are one of the key things on LinkedIn anyway. And if you're not, whether you're using the product or not, you need to be fully engaged with what it's trying to achieve. So just quickly, just the fundamentals of what the product's trying to achieve.
Yeah. So Aware is simple social selling intelligence. And Alex, again, shout out to him. This is his child. He was trying to solve two main things. And I think, like you said, everybody needs to and is trying to solve these two things. One is, where can I best put my efforts today on LinkedIn that will have the best return for me in the future? Is it a comment? Is it adding somebody, a connection? Is it posting another, right? So that's the question. That's question number one. Question number two is any of this leading to my business growing? I think everyone has those, those two questions. And so aware fundamentally says these people who you define as your target customer, this one interacted with you 3 days ago, but you haven't followed up with them. Or this person, who is a second degree connection of somebody who might be a target customer, just posted. Why don't you follow up with them because you haven't already, to make that new connection of somebody who might be a prospect in the future? And it delivers it, to your inbox, right? So it's quick, and it's those insights that get pushed up the priority list and sent to you directly, instead of you having to open up your phone or whatever and then spend 30 minutes collecting that data yourself versus doing the steps that are going to lead to those returns in the future. And then the second part of that is, how the heck do I know this is working? You could just take the post and a tracking URL and look in your CRM and ask the person on a sales call. Or Aware says, this person interacted with you on this date. Here's their name. Mark it and sync it with a Salesforce record. 3 months later, they become a customer. Bada boom, bada bing. You know that comment led to that interaction. That interaction led to that name. That name for the prospect became a customer in Salesforce. Or we are working on HubSpot integration, but yeah. So for now, Salesforce, because most of our clients use Salesforce.
Yeah, I like Salesforce, and I can understand you focusing on that first. So that, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm just going to pop your website on the screen. So it's revenuezen.com. You're also on LinkedIn. People just need to search Kenneth Marshall. Is that's your Kenneth Marshall is your URL. But if you just
Yeah.
search Ken Magna Marshall, then I'm sure you'll find. Where else do you hang out?
You
Are they the
type
key?
in, I was going to say, yeah, Ken Magma is in your browser. It's the
Ah,
only thing that'll pop up. You
aha.
don't even need to just
Really?
open up your URL and just type in Ken Magma. It'll come up.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
I love it. This has been really interesting, and I've really enjoyed talking with you and just digging deep. Just to finish, we've called this "How to Scale Your B2B SaaS Organization." What would be the key, if you were to give me sort of three things that, if I am a VP or a director focusing on growth, what would be the three things? I'll let you change the number that I should be doing right now to scale.
I like three things. Okay, I'll do each of the three buckets of our service lines. I'll just go one, one, one. For SEO, I would brainstorm 50 terms that would be lucrative to your business. I would use Google's free keyword planner. I would see if they have justification. And if they do, I would move forward and make sure that each of those are the highest business priority you can think of, regardless of any other metrics. And I would start there. And then I would go read Brian Dean's guide on-page SEO optimization, and that's the SEO bucket. I don't think you need to do any more than that. I think as far as the SEO bucket, that would be the smartest thing they can do, is prioritize business-focused terms, do some light research, and understand basic on-page optimizations. Content strategy in a box. Take that human being. If you don't know who your target customer is, go read on a HubSpot how to do that. But I'm assuming most of you have product market fit and you know how to do that. So take that person, write down 10 to 20, I don't care, pain points that they have in their everyday job, and do this in a sheet. The middle column, write down what feature of your existing product does this map to, or a future feature that you need to have. And then in the third column, and this should be a one-to-one, what pain point to what feature, and then write down how what solution in their eyes or mind solves that pain point. So pain, feature, solution. Do 10 to 20 of those. Take that information, and we did the buyer's decision-making process, write 3 pieces of informational content that solved that, solutions pages for each of the solutions you identified. And it doesn't matter if they're good or bad, just do them. Posting it is the best thing anybody can do, because people get in analysis paralysis mode. So anyway, make case studies, customer stories, 5 of those. and then give people a place to convert. Usually people have a demo, but make a specific place for the demo to happen. And that's content strategy in a box. I don't see that enough. Just those basic things, those assets, informational content, a resource, something to download for an email address, the case study, the social proof, and then places to convert with the solutions pages for each of those pain points. Moving on to LinkedIn, talk to the CEO, COO, the founder, somebody super high up, C-level, chief product officer. I don't care. And I know the VP is doing this, but they're going to be the one to convince and drive this forward. The CEO is not going to drive it usually. They're busy. So if the VP is thinking about this or the director, they're going to drive it. Tell that human to, come up with, again, I'll stick with 10 to 20 themes that they know that's industry leading, that's exciting about the company. Agree on that list. Write a post for them twice per week, have them check it, sign off on it, publish it, and at the same time, go and figure out those ideal customers, add 10 or 20 of those a week, and then spend 10 minutes a day commenting on a couple of posts or people that comment on yours, VPs, directors for your CEO. And that's what I would recommend. All of those things are easy to do. You can deploy them next week. And if you do it over time, I guarantee you'd see a 180-degree difference in the business if you do it consistently. That simple. Now, we're not talking about the upper echelons of strategy here, but I guarantee a lot of those things they aren't already doing for a lot of organizations. So,
Ken, I've not heard a wiser set of words and a concise set of words, and I fully agree with you, and some serious common sense in there. Even the 10 minutes a day, because people think they need to spend hours. Anyway, talking of time, we are running out of time. Ken, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this. If you want to speak to Ken further, Google Ken Magma. You'll find him. Visit their website, RevenueZen. Say you heard them on our podcast on the live video. Thanks for joining us, Ken. Thank you very much indeed. Hope to see you soon. But for now, take care, everyone, and thanks for joining us. See you soon. Bye bye.
Cheers.